watching today's interview, note that engagement, meaning views, likes, and shares of your social videos, matter more than your total number of followers. And you don't need to spend much on boosting or social advertising to have a sizable impact on lead flow. My guest is relying on the 4 most affordable and effective law firm marketing channels: social media, attorney referrals, client referrals, and community involvement. Let's dive in and learn how Robby is growing his 5-person firm by 25% annually with a social spend of only $1,200 per month and is pulling in solid cases at the cost of less than $100. Hi there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's dive right in like we always do. Today, our special guest is attorney Robby Fakhouri. Robby is the founder and leading lawyer of the Fakhouri firm, a rapidly growing personal injury and civil litigation firm in Chicago. We're excited to have him here today. Welcome, Robby. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join. Thank you for noticing our page and what we're doing on social media. We've really been attacking it this year, so I'm happy to share what we're doing.
Yes, we're excited to dive into all of that. So, Robby, to begin, tell us a little bit about your story. Why did you launch the firm?
Well, it was kind of by force. You know, I'm very much an open book in sharing this story. I had some things happen in my family back in 2016, which really kind of forced my hand in starting my own practice very early on. You know, I was licensed as an attorney at 23 and started my own practice at 25, which, you know, is way too early. But, you know, we had a lot of struggles until, you know, the last couple of years. I'd say in 2018, 2019, we really got it together. And the big push has been, where do I know I look for information? And so often it is social media. And I got to tell you, a lot of my apprehensions in pursuing this avenue was, you know, the profession, right? What is other people going to say about doing this stuff on social media? Is this a way to really market? Is the billboards and the commercials the avenue that should be pursued? Oh, I don't have enough capital to pursue that. So can I make it? And, you know, I put all that aside and said, I'm going to do what works for me. And social media just, you know, I naturally had this growth for social media. I've always put out my stories, shared myself kind of completely on social media. And I said, let's go full throttle with it, but let's do it professionally. And that's what we've been doing now for probably like the last 6 to 9 months. And I've really kicked it into high gear the start of this year.
Wow. It sounds like that's really kind of been the turning point for you, is, you know, figuring out that social media piece. So I'm definitely going to pick your brain on those details. How big is your team, Robby? How many attorneys and support staff?
So I am the only attorney, and then we have 4 support staff.
And at what percentage pace is your firm currently growing?
We're probably at about a 25 to 40% growth so far. You know, last year I can tell you we did 67 new cases. This year alone, we're at 22.
Okay, nice. Well, you're on track. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty heavy. We're taking on new team members to try to meet that demand. You know, a lot of AI and technology has been implemented start of January.
Okay, good. Tell us a little bit about the AI. What sort of technology specifically are you implementing?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the biggest thing has been a way and a vehicle for individuals to kind of put their case information, you know, in our system, from, you know, simple motor vehicle to maybe a little bit more complex matters like a mass tort, by having a survey in place. So if you go to my website, the first thing that's going to launch is not this chat bot that we're all used to of, oh, do you have a, you know, an injury case? And then you kind of just type up your summary and then the law office gets back to you the next day. That's not what this is. This will actually ask the necessary questions to fulfill our intake questionnaire that we would have as if you're dealing with a real person. Instead of them typing out those answers, they're already there in almost like a survey monkey style. Okay. And by the time they're done, they'll see if their case qualifies. And if their case qualifies, then immediately they'll get a retainer sent to them. And then we begin the review and the contact of the individual.
Super smart. So are you promoting that in any way? Is it simply kind of the organic visitors to your site who are completing that survey?
Well, I mean, some people might get annoyed with how much I'm on social media, but you got to do it. You got to flood it. You got to be there nonstop. So yes, I'm on my page daily talking about whatever it is that I'm doing in the office. It can be something as simple as some story in the news that I'm commenting on. It could be something about a personal client's case that I'm commenting on. Of course, we have permission from our clients to talk about it without giving out the specifics, you know. But we're talking about case results, and it might not be a dollar figure, but about how much we were able to put into our client's pocket. Excuse me. So we're talking about everything, and we're always online. Now, when it comes to me just getting on there and just kind of telling the story, that's far different from what I have set up at my office, which is we have a videographer here. So sorry, got to put this on silent here. We have a videographer here at the office, and the videographer will be filming content for us all the time. Okay. And then we designate one Saturday every single month where I will have preset 6 different topic areas that I'm going to be covering. If you take a look at my Instagram, Robby_Esquire, you'll see that I've been releasing these more high definition 1 minute or 30-second to 1 minute and 25-second video reels. And the reason, if people are interested to know why it's always less than 1 minute and 30 seconds, is because if it's not less than 1 minute and 30 seconds, it cannot be boosted. And this is what I mean by kind of the 24/7 on social media. I will set up certain demographics where I will have all my ads boosted to certain individuals that I believe are more likely to be, given the subject matter, people that would, you know, be inclined to go to our page or call us or be a potential client.
Okay, so you are a lot of good information there. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Sorry, I'm like throwing everything at you.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love the details. So specifically, you are posting. Are you posting a reel every day? Is that the goal?
Our reel that we're posting in terms of that more high-end quality stuff is probably getting posted twice a week.
Okay, twice a week. And you are monitoring views of those videos and boosting the most popular, or how are you determining which ones to boost?
So it definitely depends on the views and what they're doing with it. So it's not just about how many people are. Look, the one thing that people are commonly mistaken on is this idea of followers. The followers really don't matter. Okay. It's all about your engagement. Okay. So how many impressions are you getting off of a video, and how many video views are you getting? And I learned this while I was at a summit over in Atlanta back in December. And I was shocked to find, before I even got into this arena, that I had, I think it was like 300,000, non-following accounts that were engaging with my profile, and about 1 million impressions. Now, if I go and look at it, we're at 3 million impressions and over 1 million non-followers engaging with our page, which is incredible stuff. So when we're just at the beginning, so I still want to continue to hit hard. Now, it always depends on the type of content. If I'm looking to just kind of put our name out there for the mass tort stuff, I will boost content throughout the United States. Okay, if I'm looking to have an ad specific to personal injury and motor vehicle cases, I have targeted demographics, right? I have already set in my Instagram certain demographics, from personal injury Chicago to personal injury suburbs to motor vehicle suburb to Arab American individuals that I target directly because of my Arab American background. It all depends on what the subject matter is. If I have, for example, we've just launched an individual, or we just hired an individual using a company called Get Staffed Up, which, if you're looking to save money and save costs, these are the individuals that are top 1% of English speaking overseas. I have picked my individual who is from Argentina, and that is because time zones aren't too far off from where ours, are, and he has a medical background, and he's now our client case manager. It's only costing me about $1,900 a month. And I also had him on onboarding do a video in Spanish with me doing a video in Spanish. So now I'm targeting that video to all of the more Spanish populated areas of Chicago. So it really just depends on the content.
Super smart, super smart. So right now we're talking about boosting organic posts. Are you also using Facebook advertising and, through the Meta Business Suite?
I am doing that through the Meta Business Suite. We'll have that. Look, I don't see Facebook as really a place that I want to spend a lot of my money on. I just don't think there's that much engagement from Facebook as there is the TikTok and Instagram. I'm seeing a lot of my engagement comes from Instagram, because I have this natural following before I started to do all this boosting and things of that nature. Right. But TikTok is not one to miss, right? I mean, TikTok is really up there. I'm seeing viewership and the number of people that are coming to the page much higher than the numbers that I'm getting from Instagram. But with that being said, I'm getting more engagement from Instagram, meaning people are actually asking questions. They're reaching out. I'll get a lot of our inquiries into our email or when they call. And I would probably say of the 20 people that have signed with us in the first, 3 weeks of January, I would say 5 of them are from, referrals from other attorneys, 2 are from prior clients, and then it'd probably be a 70-30 Instagram versus TikTok, with Instagram taking the lead.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's super impressive. So you're obviously generating real leads, real quality clients through social media. And they tend to, did I hear you say they tend to come through emailing the firm? Are you getting DMs? Are they calling? How are those leads typically coming through?
It's a little bit of both. I would say the majority of them are more comfortable with going to the website and sending an email inquiry, and that's kind of where it starts. I do have relatives that are more often talking about their relatives being a little apprehensive and trying to pursue this. And I just saw your video about, oh, you're not suing the person, it's the insurance company, so pursue. And we had one of those come in through Facebook, which was a huge boating accident with probably well over 300,000 in medical bills on a case like that. So it's the gambit, right? You're gonna have to kind of feel it out. And for me, I'm just at the beginning stages. And I appreciate you guys reaching out, but truly from my perspective, I'm just starting, right? I haven't even had 1 month of solid, this new procedure that I'm pulling in on the January front, which is when I've implemented a videographer, where I'm actually being far more intelligent with the ads that I'm boosting, the content that I'm putting out there. So I can't wait to see what the year end brings.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back at the end of the year and see your progress, because it's definitely working early on. How are those? So do you have a weekly or monthly ad budget, and about how much is that budget?
Yes. So when I started this probably in August or September, I set my budget at $300 a month, and it was very low. And I started seeing a few, cases come in, but then I was also like, oh, I don't want to be that Instagram lawyer. Is this what I'm doing? And I went to this summit, and I got approached by, the head of that summit, who's built an incredible law firm completely virtually. And he's like, man, I see what you're doing on your page. Why aren't you doing more? Right. And I explained myself. It was like my own insecurities that were holding me back.
Right. Is it the CEO lawyer?
Yes, it's Ali Awad.
Yeah,
he's been an amazing mentor.
Yeah.
I'm a part of his academy that I meet with him twice a month to get insight and perspective. He's absolutely incredible. I'm really happy I invested in that. Yeah. And he's like, just stop, right? Just stop letting yourself be held back by these ideas. Who cares? If they're not going to like your content you're putting out there, they're most likely not going to be your client. So authentically be yourself and go after it. And now I think I'm probably at about 1,000 to 1,500 a month on the ads that I'm putting out there. So
you're certainly seeing a positive ROI.
Sure. Definitely.
Several times over. So let's talk about kind of topic creation and that kind of a thing. Where do you find inspiration for new video topics?
My clients. I got to say that's probably the biggest inspiration that I've had in client experience. And I always write these down as they're happening. I have a running note on my iPad for video ideas, and it's always coming from, I would say 90% is from my client experience. I had a case where we talked about liens in Medicare and how those are handled and how we were able to get our clients a great result. I've had another issue where there was minimal damage to the car, but we got the individual $365,000 settlement. And you look at the damage to the vehicle and you would say, it's nothing, right? So talked about that. A lot of it comes from client inspiration, but I have an amazing network of friends and family who I am a big proponent of constructive criticism. I love to reach out to other people and ask them what their feedback is on the content that I'm creating, or maybe their ideas. And sometimes I'll get it from some friends. So I have a dear friend of mine who was like, you got to attack the ambulance chaser. He's like, you got to make fun of yourself. People like that. And I did a video on ambulance chasing, and how people call us ambulance chasers. And I ended it with the reel of me trying to figure out this videography stuff. And that was probably one of our best videos so far.
I saw that one. That's a great one. We'll have to share that for sure. How are you? So you mentioned obviously you have a videographer now. How did
Yes.
you start? Were you just shooting yourself to start? And how did
Yes.
that process? Yeah, what did that process?
I bought, and I have it here because I still have it, and my videographer yells at me. If you see the setup that's now in my office, it's actually kind of ridiculous. I never thought I'd be this person, but there's like 7 lights and there's a big camera hooked up to the front. But I started off with this, if you can see it. It's called
Yep.
a hula.
Mhm.
And I got caught using it when I was at the summit out in Atlanta. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I have a magnet on the back of my phone. I click it in and I hook it up to any wall. I'll be walking outside of the courtroom and I'll see a building that I like and I have a ring light and I put it right on and I was filming everything on my own." And I got to say, people love that.
Yeah.
I got a lot of good response and good feedback from that. But if I really wanted to push this, I needed to have content created and ready to go, because otherwise I'm interrupting my day schedule and I'm not allotting time within my schedule to pursue this stuff.
Right.
And that's when I switched roles. And that came about because every single year, and we've been on pause for a little bit, but my firm always gives back to the community by doing a holiday gift drive to the homeless. We'll package gift bags with, all essentials that somebody would need. I mean, as much as they can, from toothbrush, gloves, socks, hats, jackets, and things like that. And we pass it around the city. And then I kind of create a video reel for the office to show what we're doing to get back to the community. I used a website called upwork.com, and I put up an ad for a videographer.
Nice.
And he did an amazing job at creating the content for that video. And I said, "Look, I'd love to give you an opportunity. We're new at pursuing this." Videographers are really expensive. And I got to say that. I mean, you got to be ready to invest in it. You got to be ready to put your dollars for it. And you better, be ready to create the content and sit there and get creative and have it there, because the worst thing to do is to stifle the creative mind of a videographer by not being prepared on what you need to talk about, because they're there to film and then take that raw footage, but you're there to do, the information, the education, and the content creation. So we went all in on that, and I have him. And the way that I made it cheaper for myself, if I give a suggestion to anybody in terms of being cost effective, they're usually doing, for 1 hour of film, it's going to take 2 hours of editing. So instead of having, all of this downtime or going around to different locations within the city, get a green screen, film in your office, right? Get different outfits that you're going to be prepared for on the same day that you're going to film, and then have your subject matter there and ready. We can cover easily, our first time it took us a little bit longer, but I could say we can cover about 5 videos in 2 hours. Now I'm not paying, to do 5 different settings and 5 different times that he's coming to the office or to film 30-second to a minute and 25-second video reel. So I find that to be extremely cost effective and I highly suggest it.
So is this same videographer editing and posting for you as well?
I do the posting for now. I like to be in control of it because I like to be on top of responding to people. I'm sure as time goes on and there's more growth, God willing, then that will change. But right now, I want to be the one responding to my clients. I still want to make it personal. I want them to feel as if they can communicate with me. But when they're reaching out to the office, there's a full support staff, right? And as soon as we sign them, our case manager reaches out to them immediately to let them know that they're going to be the case manager handling the file. But on initial contact, I find it to be very important that they speak with the attorney that runs the firm.
I'm sure that absolutely distinguishes yourself, for sure. How much time would you say per week you spend on posting and engaging on social media?
Oof, a lot. I'm probably spending 6 to 10 hours a week of actual creation, engaging, editing, especially if I'm doing some videos at my office myself without my videographer. I've recently introduced some AI as it relates to mass torts. And I have a full plan to do that with my videographer, but I want to at least release it since our landing pages for those surveys are out and available. So, it requires a little bit of practice. It requires knowing the criteria, not just getting out there and saying, here's this case. So there's been some edits that I've been doing with it, and I use an app on my phone. If I have, something that I've messed up on, I can cut that and still use the same content in case the video was good.
Can you tell us what app you use?
Sure, it's called Splice. Splice. I highly recommend using that, and it'll get you acclimated with knowing this stuff. I got to tell you guys, I was asked to be on a podcast called Consistency Wins on Monday, and I don't like to do anything half-assed, right? So I went and I got all these lighting and all this equipment, and my videographer came to my office and got, everything completely set up. And if you don't become familiar with this video creation content world, whether it's saturation levels, whether it's the mics or it's the cameras or the aperture that needs to be used. I can't even believe I'm saying that word. Like, I didn't even know what that was like a month ago. It'll be really hard for you to decide what content is good and what content is bad. So I highly suggest getting yourself familiar so you can also kind of nurture that videographer to do the content the way you believe your firm should be represented online.
Yeah, do the work that only you can do, right? Prioritize
Sure.
that work, and then, get help with the shooting and the editing and, the pieces
Totally.
that don't require your time, right?
Totally. And I highly suggest when you go online to pick examples. There's plenty of us attorneys that are out there, and there's a lot of guys doing awesome stuff. Some stuff works for some people, some stuff doesn't work for others. I know I can look at Ali Awad's page and know exactly what content I absolutely love and admire about what he does. And I know there's some content of his that totally works for Ali that would not work for me. And you just got to be mindful of that so you create your own style.
I think that brings up a good point. I'd like to know, Robby, did it take you some time to figure out what resonates and find your voice? What did your early posts look like?
I've always attempted to be educational in nature. I feel like that is something that builds credibility. It allows for clients to say, this guy knows what he's talking about. I've always shied away from doing case results, but I know that is so important. And I'm realizing how much more important that is now. I don't like to get out there and be like, we just sell the case for $775,000. Great, right? Because I didn't want it to sound like braggadocious. But it's really important for your clients to know your results. It builds trust. It builds confidence. They know what it is. So you just got to do it tastefully. But I will say in the beginning, it was always informative. I mean, if you scroll back to the beginning parts of my page, I would have been standing out over on Wacker Drive, which is kind of our main downtown strip here in Chicago, right off the river. And I'd tack this little thing onto something, and I would just start talking about what are the 3 things you should do after a car accident, or what does uninsured versus underinsured motorist coverage mean? All of that stuff, right? And I would find that people were like, oh, I didn't know that. Or, oh, can you tell me more about this? So I found that to be something I'm going to continue to do, which is provide educational information for people to know why they shouldn't handle cases on their own, or maybe some traps in motor vehicle cases, which are usually the ones you want to advertise for, why they shouldn't handle them themselves. So that's been something that I'd like to continue to do. And then, I'm now starting to incorporate today at 3:00, once we're done here, I have a client coming in who's picking up a check on a really large settlement that we knocked out of the park for him. And, before I give him the check, I'm going to ask a simple question if he'd like to do a testimonial. And I'd usually like to do that with a videographer, but this time we're going to do it in my office. We're going to stand together. I'm going to flip these lights the other way, and I'm just going to let him talk and share his experience about what he's done here at the office. Sometimes you shouldn't be so planned. Sometimes you really just should let it be. As much as you want to pursue organic growth, you should also pursue organic content without it being scripted.
Smart. I think sometimes it's hard for attorneys to kind of let go of the fact that it might not be perfect, and that actually might be better. It might, help kind of show that authenticity and that, that genuine nature behind what you're doing. Yeah.
You couldn't be more correct. I'll tell you, I had my close friends who are into this stuff, and they're like, if you don't stop with the buttoned up monkey in a suit stuff, your content's going to be awful. People like when you mess up your words, because guess what? We always do. Right. It's natural.
Right. You want to give prospective clients a glimpse into what it will be like working with you and working with the firm, right? And why you are approachable, and your approach as a person, who you are as an attorney, but also who you are as a person, of course. Can we revisit the advertising for one moment? So how are the boosted posts performing versus the advertisements that you're running? I see an ambulance chaser ad currently running. You have a couple other kind of direct pitch ads. Tell me how those compare.
So here's what I recommend. The biggest thing that everybody should be aware of is there's an ads manager through app that once you start doing this stuff on a more frequent basis, they'll give you this option. Instagram and Facebook, as well as TikTok, will start sending these links that your account has reached a level to be a creator, and like certain levels that allow for you to get more access to certain things like insights, who's posting or who's following, who's liking, what's the impressions, what's their demographic. So you want to download that ads manager without question. And I can just take a look at my ads manager, and I can tell you for videos that I have done that are, my video content, some of them are costing me 43 cents per click. Other ones are costing me 2 cents. Some are costing 5 cents. I am seeing ones that are more stills, so just actually a photo of myself. Those ones are probably the cheapest ones for me. I'm seeing that those ones are costing me no more than 2 to 3 cents. When it comes to my videos versus my static videos versus my story videos, the story ones are costing me more money than the static ones. And I think the reason for that is a static post has a shelf life that is much longer. It's staying on your page. And depending on the length of the time I am boosting this ad, I set a budget per day, usually no more than $5 to $10, depending on which ad I'm choosing. And I'll run it for about a 30-day campaign, and I'll see the performance. If it's not performing well, I'll just dial that one back. So, all of them, I've never seen a video that I have done looking at this now kind of go over that 40 cents. 43 cents is for this ambulance chasing one. That's the highest I've seen so far. Usually it's much cheaper. I'm at no more than, 5 to 10 cents on some of these.
Any sense on what you're paying per, qualified prospect actually coming through?
That's a great question. So I have spent probably $900 to $1,200 this month. I should have probably done an assessment for you guys. And we have signed at least 13 cases. So, that's.
Yeah, assuming that they came through the ads.
Less than $100.
Yeah.
Less than $100 for some of these ones. And by the way, the injuries are good. I have one that was a boating accident where the injuries are really, really severe. And I know that's a super high valued case. I have, other ones that are involving a semi truck. I have other ones involving some commercial carrier. And then I have rear end motor vehicle cases where soft tissue, emergency room, and then some follow-up care. Not every case can be over 100 to 200,000, right? The ones that are a little bit less are what keep the lights on. And if I have to spend $100 for one of those cases through my advertising that's building my audience, I'm there to do that.
So it sounds like you're signing most of the wanted cases that come through social media. You're actually signing those rather than, just leads coming through and not.
Totally.
Yeah.
I will say, there's been 2 cases which I was really disappointed about. One was a brain injury case, and another one was a car crash that was out of state. Both of them very severe injuries. The birth injury, the statute of limitations had run, and they weren't aware. The car crash out in New York, same thing. Statute of limitations had run. So, you have to be able to feel your audience and say, well, wow, these injuries were significant. They were reaching out, and something not within my control didn't lead to us acquiring the client. And that's going to happen. It's got to be a part of it, right?
Are you getting referrals from your network, Robby?
Yeah, definitely. So this year we've gotten 6 referrals in so far.
Wow. And I assume that's from engaging online with attorneys who maybe are outside your either geographic area or specialty, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one is, one that has referred in about 4 now so far is outside. It's not in their field. They do corporate litigation. Another one is actually another personal injury firm here in Chicago. They are extremely well established, very well to do. They've handled nationwide cases, and they're somebody that I've always looked up to. And, they're probably minimum threshold on some of their cases. It's like 500,000 or higher. And they're like, you're crushing it with this motor vehicle stuff. Let's start giving you some of these. And, I'll send them work comp cases because I don't do work comp. I just do PI. And that kind of relationship has developed in time. I've been doing this for them since last year, but now even this year, what they see what I'm doing with this content creation. And, I have lawyers who are coming up to me that are like, this stuff is actually interesting what you're talking about. It's not just, here's a case result. We like the content that you're putting out there. Oh, I didn't know this about insurance coverage, or I didn't know I can pursue my own policy at no fault of my own. Things like this are things that people, if you're not experiencing it or handling it, you're not really going to know. And it's nice to know.
Yeah. What percentage referral fee are you requesting?
So I do a third, 2/3.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are at the 40-60 because we're spending so much on media. But again, I am in what my opinion would be the beginning stages of this growth through social media, and I want to prove myself. And I believe you got to put in that elbow grease to get there. So I don't mind sharing it the 1/3, 2/3 right now. That may change. That definitely may change.
Yeah. So organic social media, paid social media is obviously working well for you early on. Are you investing in any other marketing at this point? Any other advertising?
So, look, I've had a lot of other individuals reach out, but I believe that I'm putting my marketing budget towards the social media as well as the CEO Lawyer Academy. This is literally the school of marketing for social media lawyers, so to say. And that was a costly penny that I know is going to be totally worth it. So that's kind of hit me for my budget this year. And frankly, I think that's good enough. The billboard, the TV, the radio, all of that stuff, I really believe unless you are ready to do a year to 2-year campaigns, you got no business doing in it, because as soon as that billboard is down, as soon as that TV commercial is off, they're not calling anymore, right? As opposed to social media where it's always going to be there. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. And early on, you mentioned that you really saw sort of things take off once you adopted social media. How were you, sort of recruiting, attracting cases early on? What were you doing? Was it primarily word of mouth?
And before it was definitely word of mouth. It was me putting my card out there. I would leave cards in the drive-thru at a McDonald's. Okay. I would do anything that it takes.
Yeah.
And a lot of it came from philanthropy, if I can say.
Yeah.
You have to go out there, you have to give back to your community. I would do turkey drives over on the south side of Chicago. I work really closely, despite suing the Chicago Police Department very often. I do work closely with them and doing things that give back to the community. I probably do 2 to 3 events with the Chicago Police Department per year. We just finished fundraising. And we hosted their Halloween party that was for the community. And look, when people are going to see you, they're going to see you out there. They see my staff there. We're giving out candy. We're handing out our cards. That naturally is just going to allow for you to get some cases.
Super smart, Robby. So before we wrap up, I always like to ask, if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt 1, maybe 2 of your tips, what would you recommend?
Be authentic. Be authentically yourself and be unapologetic on social media. You can't not pursue this area because you're afraid that you have to fit a certain mold. You have to be authentically yourself. If you look at my social media, I'm not just sharing things about the law firm. I'm sharing things about my fitness. I'm sharing stuff about mental health. All of this stuff is very important to me. And some people, it might not be for them, but I know what works for me. And I'm authentically being myself on social media. And if there's one tip that I can give, is authentically be yourself, because if you're showing your clients who you are, both personally and professionally, they're going to be inclined to pursue you because they know all about you.
Be authentic. I love it. So was that difficult to sort of, at first, did you have to kind of practice at that? Was it difficult at first to kind of be comfortable sharing a little bit more of who you are and your personality, or did that kind of come pretty naturally to you?
Look, it did come pretty naturally to me. If you look at the stuff that I do create, I think I'm a natural at kind of speaking on the camera and getting on in front of social media. Practice makes perfect. But sharing my stories and intimate details about my life and my personal struggles and my strengths and my family, that takes a lot of courage. But I know that if I do that in certain areas that I do talk about, I hope to help others. So I do share because whatever sort of insecurity or embarrassment I may have can help somebody else. So it shouldn't hold me back. And I do so very openly.
I know you are inspiring many. So thank you, Robby. It was such a pleasure. I really, really appreciate your time. You were very generous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Really great tips from Robby today. Here are the primary takeaways I see. Number 1, engagement before followers. Yes, more followers are better, but what affects lead flow more than followers are view, likes, and shares of your social videos. And as my recent several guests have shown, you can gain high views without having a large number of followers. Number 2, small budgets work on social media. Robby's spending only $1,200 a month on boosting and advertising, which works out to be, less than $100 per case signed. His daily budgets are between $5 and $10. Most of his clicks cost less than 5 cents each. So contrast those numbers with Google ads, TV, billboards, radio. Social media is the ideal channel for low dollar marketing budgets, especially in competitive marketplaces. Number 3, unpolished is actually better. Most of my guests rely on videos with lower production values and do quite well with them. Several guests have actually reported that their viral videos are the ones that are the least produced. So other guests combined those professionally shot, heavily edited videos with a mix of self-shot, lightly edited videos like Robby does. Both approaches work. Number 4, educational plus results, right? So from the start, on his social media 9 months ago, Robby has wisely taken an educational approach. That's the surest route to success. He's now mixing in case results to enhance his credibility, which is also a smart move, but prospects want to retain winners, right? And number 5, community involvement pays. Like Robby, the majority of my guests have reported that giving back to their communities is not only personally rewarding, but also generates clients. It's good for business. So that win-win should make low-cost community support an easy yes when you're considering adding a new marketing channel. Ditto for social media, client referrals, attorney referrals. Those are the 4 foundational and affordable marketing channels that every law firm should use. Next week's interview with Dunya Bazzi is packed with a larger number of effective and new to me legal marketing techniques than any of my previous interviews. Dunya is a true innovator. You will not want to miss that. I consider it the most valuable interview I've conducted thus far, and I've done close to 50. So thank you to Robby. Huge thank you. Super generous with his time. Thank you all for attending. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.